Hey guys, welcome back. First of all, wish you a very happy new year 2025. It's very exciting now. We are in 2025 and it is really exciting, isn't it? Great. And this is going to be the first video this year. And what is this video all about? So in this video, I'm going to share many things. Okay, so there is no chance to miss this video, so I don't want to miss any content, anything which I'm now going to share in this video. So please stay with me, please watch this video. Okay, great, let's get started. Well, we keep saying that, hey, this is new year now, so what's your plan, what's your strategy, what are the changes that you're going to make in your life, what is the impact that you're going to make in your life, right? So we have these many questions, don't we? Great. And now, same thing happens when you decide to learn anything. When you decide to learn a language, so you decided to learn the English language, and you have to improve your communication skills. You have to improve your speaking skills. So you decided to learn it, right? So you must have a plan. You must have a strategy. You must have a proper structure because you already worked, right? You already worked on it, but nothing has worked. Nothing has helped you. So there has to be a change, right? What is that change we are going to have in 2025? Great. Now, so planning, when we talk about plan, do you think that planning is necessary? Why do we think that planning is necessary to achieve anything, to work on anything properly, right? So there should be a proper plan. Why do you think so? I'm not talking about many other things, but I'm talking about the English language, right? So when you decide to learn the English language, why do you think that there should be a plan? Yeah? Any idea? Well, plan is a must. I agree with that. But try to understand this is not a particular course. This is not a particular training, right? It's a language. So whenever you decide to prepare for a competitive examination, right, you have a certain course, you just go through, and you have to get through that examination. You have to crack that examination. So that examination has a certain pattern, and you prepare for that. Am I right? So whenever you have a pattern of doing something to achieve something, then you have to have a certain plan. You have to have a certain structure. But understand, this is a language, right? It doesn't have any pattern. It doesn't have any plan. It doesn't have any strategy. Just all that you need to do is to immerse in it. That is my basic ideology behind it. I have learned this language by totally being immersed into it. Yeah, by totally being immersed into it. Yeah, because I understood that this is a language. I should not have, and in fact, when I started working on it, I planned that way. I planned this way. I did plan for grammar rules. I did plan for getting enrolled in an institution. So there were so many things that I did in my life when I started working on this language, right? But nothing has worked. Honestly, I'm saying nothing worked properly, right? Then I decided, then I realized, realization is a must. Then I realized it's just the waste of time. Start working yourself. Okay, try to understand the reason why first you have to learn this language, and now try to understand that this is a language. You do not have to limit it. You do not have to limit in a certain parameter. No, you do not have to limit it. It's limitless. Yes, it's a language. Have you ever noticed a fish? Yeah. So a fish, when you see a fish, do you think a life of a fish without a water? You can't think, right? Water is a must for a fish. Am I correct? Why? Is there any strategy? Is there any structure for a fish? That fish will decide, no, there has to be a structure that I will, this time is when I will have to go to the water. This is the time when I will have to go to walk on the soil, on the land, right? So, is there any strategy for a fish? No, I don't think so. Yeah, water is just a life for a fish. So the fish has been totally immersed into it. That is the reason we cannot think fish without water. Same thing happens here. Whenever you decide to learn a language, try to understand language is just a way, language is playing a role of the water in your life. Okay, you cannot think your life without a language. I'm not talking about only English, but even if you speak Hindi, can you think your life without Hindi? Without a language, I mean to say, not even Hindi, not even English, but whosoever has any particular language, right? Can you think your life without a language? You speak Hindi, you can't think your life without a language, right? Without Hindi. If you want to learn English, you cannot try to understand this uh, in a way that you cannot think your life without this language. So you have to totally immersed into it, right? You have to be totally immersed into it. That's what I meant to say. Now, that is one thing. So there is nothing to plan. There is nothing to make a structure. There is nothing to make a list of don'ts and do's and don'ts, right? It's nothing like that. It doesn't work. Just live your life. Do not try to make your life so complicated. There are too many things to think on, right? There are so many things in your life which are puzzled, which you have to think on, right? There are so many things in your life which are complicated, right? Why are you making your language complicated? Yeah, why are you making the way of learning a language complicated too? In fact, you already have so many things in your life which are complicated and you have to cope with them. Yeah, so why are you making this also complicated? No, 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 nothing is to complicate. Yeah, do not try to make it complicated. Yeah, okay. Now, so don't try to make the process of learning any language so complicated that you will be confused one day. Yeah, all that you need to do is just to go with the flow. Yeah, it has a certain flow, it has a certain time, it has a certain speed, so you have to go with them. Okay, there is nothing to make haste. Okay, that is what I wanted to say about plan and the structure. Yeah, there is no structure, there is no plan. Just you follow your time, just you follow your comfort, you follow and you go with the flow. That's it. Give time. It requires time. Yeah. You have to experience. You have to learn it. You have to experience. You have to learn the basic. You have to learn the meaning of the word, right? You have to experience that word. When you speak that word, you have to feel it. You have to put stress on it whenever it is required, right? So it has a total experience that you have to go with, right? That is the reason I said all that you need to do is just to go with the flow. Give some time to it. Yeah, give some time to yourself. Only then you will be able to learn anything. Yeah, great. That's what I was talking about, the plan and structure. Next thing that I want to discuss it with you is control. People say that, hey, you must have a control. Yeah, why do you want to have a control on a language? What does it mean? Are you driving a car that you need to have a control? No, no, no. You don't have to have a control, right? Don't try to control. It is limitless. Try to understand anything in the language that you decide. Anything, word, feeling, stress, pronunciation, right? Abusing words, anything, right? Nothing is useless. Everything is useful. Do not try to limit that. Do not try to have a good control. It's just a man made thing, right? Go with natural flow. That's it. Okay. And one more thing, grammar. See, do you really think that grammar is necessary to learn a language? Well, according to me, grammar is not necessarily required, right? But you cannot avoid it. I mean to say, you just need to take care of functional grammar, hmm? Basic grammar rules. You need to understand basic grammar rules. Yeah, nothing more than that. Unless you have to be a good grammarian, then that's a different thing. If your profession is teaching, you are in a teaching profession and you have to teach grammar to the students, then you need to understand the depth of grammar, you need to understand rules, the complications, everything. But you just have to speak, you just have to write, you just have to experience the language, right? You have to be totally immersed into it. Then in that case, grammar will come later on, right? You will understand, you will start understanding grammar rules also. But first, you have to read books. Because when you read books, what happens? You are looking at ready-made sentences. You don't have to make sentences, right? You are looking at those sentences which are already made in the book, right? So you don't have to prepare. You don't have to understand rules. Just you read that sentence and you understand the meaning. Try to speak that sentence also. Try to make your own sentences based on that sentence which you read in the book. Right? That is why I am saying grammar rules are necessary, but they come later on. First you try to understand the language. Try to understand the ready-made sentences. Yeah, that's the thing I wanted to discuss. Now, time management. Time management. It's a very crucial thing. Time management. Okay, time management. Uh, yeah, it is necessary, but for many other things. Have you ever managed time to learn Hindi? Try to answer me honestly. Have you ever managed time to learn Hindi? I don't think so. Right? Have you ever thought? Have you ever planned? Have you ever made a kind of certain strategy? Have you ever made those sort of craps when you want to learn English? Because you were in that surrounding. That is what applies here also. You have to make yourself available in the environment where English is spoken. That's what I meant to say. Yeah. So time management, planning, strategy, you're making the language so complicated, and if you keep doing so, no matter 2025, 2026 comes, 2027 comes, you will keep doing for many years, for 10 years, 15 years, you will keep doing that, but you will not achieve that, right? Yeah. Now, work. Yes, I agree with the fact that work is necessary. Work. All that you need to do is work. Let's say, for example, uh, if you decide to learn dance, let's say, for example, if you decide to learn dance, okay, how will you learn dance? I understand there are some rules. I understand there are some trainings that you need to go through, right? But in case you want to learn dance by yourself, what will you do? First thing, tell me honestly, you will start watching someone dancing, isn't it? Then, when you decide to learn a language, why don't you start watching someone speaking in English? Why don't you start watching something which is in English? Why don't you start reading which is in English? That is the basic, and that is the only way of learning a language. Yes, reading in English, understanding. When you read, then you will understand. When you understand, then you are familiar with words and sentences. When you are familiar with the words and sentences, then that is when your mind starts thinking in English. Yeah. Have you ever heard people saying that? Think in English, think in English. This is when you will start thinking in English. When you read books, when you read something, when you read any stuff which is in English, then your brain starts thinking in English. That is what's supposed to be done. Okay? So work is a must. And conversation. So whenever you decide to learn dance, you see someone dancing and you start copying, right? You start following the steps. Same thing happens here. When you decide to learn a language, you start watching people speaking in the same language that you want to learn. You start reading something which is in the same language, and then you start copying. Then you start following. Then you start making those sentences. You start speaking those small sentences, right? And so watching movies, watching any conversation, you start watching the conversation, you start watching movies, you start watching anything, any videos, any shows in English, you start watching someone speaking in English, you start watching anything in English in YouTube also, right? So that is what is necessary. And the next thing I would like to talk about is confidence. Yeah, people do believe that confidence is when you get your confidence when you speak good English. I'm not saying that this is not true. I am saying that that's not the only way you get your confidence by. Okay, so you need to have a good command over the subject matter. So when you speak English, let's say for example, you have a topic to speak on and you don't know the subject matter. Even if you speak good English, you will not be able to speak properly. So you need to have the subject matter. So work on your subject matter, right? You will get your confidence when you have the subject matter, right? So work on the language as well as the subject matter. Subject matter is very important. Okay. Now let me summarize what all I discussed in this video today. Well, plan, don't make a structure, right? Just relax, go with the flow. Yeah, you have your comfort, you have your zone, right? You have your convenient time, so everything is fine, right? Do not try to make it complicated. Just try to learn this with the time. Give yourself time. Learn it, experience it, learn it properly, and speak it. Okay. Now next thing, surrounding. Yes, you have to read books, right? You have to start reading storybooks, because in storybooks you will find small sentences, conversational English, conversational sentences, and that is what we need, right? So you need to understand conversational sentences, you need to understand how to talk. So you will start reading the ready-made sentences which are already made, right? So start reading storybooks, and then start watching movies, start watching shows in English, start watching someone who speaks English, and start talking to someone who speaks English, right? Okay. And see, there is one question, that why do I always speak English in my videos, right? You will find me seldom speaking in Hindi in my video, right? It is because I want you to get an environment. You always keep saying that I don't have environment. So I am giving you environment, right? Listen to me. Listen to me, right? Observe, watch me, how I am making sentences. That is why I always keep speaking English in my videos. Yeah, I hope that this is enough for today. So thanks for your patience. Thanks for watching my video. Cheers.